Welcome back into Sports Connection. Joining us now, he really doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyways. He is the WCPS District Athletic Director, and he's also my best friend, Mr. Greg Howard. Sir, how are you doing today?
A pleasure to be here with you all. As always, I love when you give me the opportunity. I love being here.
Thank you for joining us today, man. You've had a few roles over the past few years. Finally here in Warren County as the District Athletic Director. How has this past year been for you since making the switch here from Logan County to Warren County?
It's been a great learning experience. It's probably been the best career move of my life. That decision was based on a lot of things, not just obviously with the passing of my uncle and being up here around family was a big part of it. But it's been it's really opened my eyes when you get in a bigger system like this. You have athletics as athletics, but the dynamics really change when you have multiple schools.
Well, Greg, I've had the honor of being around you for quite a long time now in this high school sports arena, and great job at Logan County, and you're doing the same thing at your current position. A lot's coming down the pike for you and the KHSAA, and didn't mention future board president right here with us on the show. Congratulations on that, well deserved. But I would like to just jump right in. We see it in the NCAA right now, the transfer portal. It seems like these teams have a different roster every single season. I'm not saying we're at that position at the high school level yet, but we do see snippets of those type things. Some of these athletes are changing their high school, and there's a lot that goes into the thought process of that. But is that something that you guys discuss when you are around your crew?
We are, and that's a hot topic. 4 of the states around Kentucky now have adopted a one-time transfer. At one point in time, there was a legislation moving through to have a one-time transfer here in Kentucky, and that's since been put on hold. There's a joint House resolution that has asked for data on transfers. How many kids actually transfer? How many meet the exception of an actual bona fide change of address? How many go to appeals? What percentage of those that go to appeals are overturned if they're deemed ineligible? And so they've asked for that data by December 1st, and in May we'll probably discuss a couple of options. I've never been in favor of a one-time transfer. I've seen what it would do in some of the other states, but that's probably the biggest item. And of course, next year is football realignment again, so that cycle's coming back up, and I'm glad we're doing that on a 2-year cycle instead of a 4.
When you look, there's tons of sports available to kids now, especially now we've added a few sports here in Kentucky, lacrosse very recently, esports a couple years ago. With the addition of these sports, how has it been dealing with that, especially in the springtime when there's, track, baseball, softball, all that?
Well, we know how busy, we call it the 9-week death march when you're in fall sports. It's just a brutal and gruesome for athletic directors to keep up with. We've added boys volleyball, which has really taken off. A lot of our rural schools have been involved. Lacrosse, boys and girls. We just have 3 teams here in town. We had a team up in Owensboro just drop out. And lacrosse is one of those that's going to have to prove itself. When you look at the 3 teams playing here, they have to go to Louisville or Lexington to play anybody. And that's just really expensive when you talk about travel. And it's just kind of hard on the teams and hard on the school district.
Well, and it puts pressure on the boosters, and when it does that, a new sport will maybe pull some funds from another sport that's just getting on its feet. Those kind of things. Do you think that lacrosse is something that eventually will make it?
Obviously when we voted it in, we're hoping we're going to obviously have a state championship. I hope the numbers get better. You got to stop and think. We're a small state when you talk about population, and that's hard to understand. But when you look at the enrollment and the population of states all around us, we're pretty small. When you talk about everybody, when you go west of the Eastern time zone, there's just not a lot of schools, and it's tough on this part of the state. The Cincinnati area across there, and northern Kentucky across the river, and all the northern part and the eastern part, Lexington, Louisville, you can have more teams and be successful. Travel's not an issue. it's a big deal trying to travel and do some of those sports on this side of the time zone.
And the big loss would be, I think, future college players that right now there seems to be, a lot of scholarships available for that sport.
A
So
lot
that's
of money available. Yeah.
If there was one change that Greg Howard can make with no other input, what is like one change that you would make right now to high school athletics?
At high school athletics, I think I stand with the other board members, and I speak about this often. The future of athletics, and we know it in high school, is going to change. Don't know what it's going to look like in 5-10 years. One thing to change. I just wish we could keep it to where, unless you're moving, that all of our kids stay on our home teams. Friday night football, everybody coming out. I mean, it's still, I'm just going to say this. A lot of times we look at, and what the legislature asked us about, what do transfer data look like? And we have about 113,000 student athletes in the state of Kentucky. And of those, figures show we had probably about 800 and some transfers. How many of those were legit and went through? I would like to I don't know, there's a push to give more freedom. It's hard to say, well, you can move schools for academic reasons, but you're limited when it comes to athletics. So I would like to see us somehow compromise and get something where we just only a small percentage of athletes do we see looking really to get an advantage to go somewhere or play for a state championship, and we hear that a lot. So I would like to see all this settle down where we just have homegrown kids, and I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I hope it does, and where we can just have the kids who grow up in our communities play for our teams, and whoever's the best makes it to the state tournament.
That's amazing insight, and we get to be a fly on the wall a little bit now that we've got the resource of Greg Howard and his connection to the KHSAA and Commonwealth of Kentucky and high school sports. Greg, you're a great voice, and we appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Absolutely. My last question is, who's your favorite sports reporter in the state of Kentucky?
In the state of Kentucky, I'm not going to pick any names. I've never been able to do that.
Well, who's interviewed you the most on this stage?
That would be Brian.
All right.
Well, thank you for joining us once again.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, Brian.
Greg.
Thank you, Caden.
But don't go anywhere. We have more Sports Connection right after the break.
Whew.